Hey, my fellow evolvers, welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm Tina, and this is Evolving with Tina. I created this podcast as an outlet, a place to be real and connect with women who are on a self-healing journey just like me. We talk about healing, growth, and how we're moving through life. I don't claim to have all the answers, but if you've ever felt alone in what you're going through, you're in the right place. You hit play because you want more. You want to feel better, live better, and be better. And here's the truth. There's no finish line when it comes to personal growth. We're constantly evolving day in and day out. And honestly, I'm okay with that because we're in this together. My goal for every podcast listener is simple. Come as you are and evolve as you go. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's get into it. So let me start with this. Today, we're talking about something most of us don't even realize is happening. How your childhood is still showing up in your adult relationships. Whether it's how you communicate, how you love, how you trust, or how you protect yourself. Those early experiences shaped more than you think. And if love has ever felt confusing, if you've ever wondered why you shut down, overthink, or chase people who don't fully choose you, this episode is for you. Because most of us aren't broken. We're just repeating what we were taught. And today, we're going to talk about how to start unlearning that. Most of us don't even realize we're repeating patterns. We just find ourselves asking things like, why do I keep attracting emotionally unavailable people? Why do I feel like I'm responsible for everyone else's emotions? And why do I shut down every time there's conflict? But underneath all of that are blueprints, quiet, invisible ones, written long before we ever had a say. Those blueprints, they come from how we were raised, what we saw, what we learned was normal, even if it wasn't healthy. Maybe love looked like walking on eggshells. Maybe you learned your needs were too much, or that love had to be earned by being easy, helpful, or low maintenance. Maybe you had to watch someone's mood just to figure out who you needed to be that day. And maybe you noticed that crying made people uncomfortable, so you stopped showing emotions altogether. And now, without even realizing it, you keep choosing people or situations that feel familiar, even when they don't feel good. You don't know how to ask for help without feeling guilty, or you don't know how to rest without feeling lazy, or maybe you don't even know how to be loved without earning it. And I want you to hear this loud and clear. There is nothing wrong with you. These patterns, they've protected you once, but now they're keeping you stuck. These patterns aren't random. They're your brain and nervous system doing exactly what they were trained to do. Psychologists call it core programming. It's the automatic beliefs formed in childhood that shaped how we see ourselves, others, and the world around us. So if love felt conditional, your brain wired itself to work for love. If emotions weren't welcome in your home, your body learned to suppress your needs. If chaos was normal, calm might feel boring or even unsafe. And because the brain loves familiarity, it keeps choosing what's familiar, not what's healthy. That's why awareness is such a big deal, because once you see the pattern, you can interrupt it. You can stop confusing survival with love. Okay, let's break it down, because these patterns don't just show up in romantic relationships, they show up in almost every area of your life. In dating, you chase emotionally unavailable people and call it chemistry. You feel anxious when someone is too kind because it feels so unfamiliar. In friendships, You feel like the therapist friend who listens to everyone else but never opens up because you fear being a burden, so you keep your own struggles to yourself. At work, you overperform and still feel like you're falling short. You avoid conflict even when something needs to be said. You fear being too much, so you shrink your voice just to fit in. And with yourself, you can't rest without guilt. You struggle to celebrate yourself without downplaying any of your accomplishments. Maybe you're harder on yourself than anyone else could ever be because deep down, you still believe you're only as good as what you do for others. These patterns don't just shape how we love or how we cope. They shape how we see ourselves. And I know this myself firsthand because growing up, I was the middle child. And from a very young age, I relied on external validation to feel loved and accepted. If I tried to express my thoughts or emotions, I felt rejected or shut down. So I learned to adapt, to read the room, be what others needed, and silence my own needs. I never felt truly heard, accepted, or understood. And because of that, I became hyper aware of what others thought of me. Their opinions, their judgment, their moods, they all shaped how I saw myself. And it felt like there was never room to just be me. Like I wasn't allowed to grow or take up space or feel safe in my own emotions. And no matter how hard I tried, it never felt like enough. That feeling of not being secure or protected as a child, it creates a deep, quiet belief that I had to earn love. And that belief followed me. It followed me into my relationships, into work, into motherhood, and into everything that I did. So maybe your story is different, but if any part of that hits home, if you've ever felt like love had to be earned or that being yourself wasn't safe, I want you to know you're not alone. Look, you didn't ask for any of this. You didn't choose the patterns or the family dynamic you grew up in. But at some point, you realize this stuff is still running the show. And maybe it's not loud or obvious. Maybe it just shows up in a way that you always say, I'm fine, when you're not. Or how you put everyone else's needs ahead of your own because it feels safer that way. Or how you downplay your feelings just so you're not too much to handle. You didn't choose to be this way, but now that you see it, it's yours to deal with. And yeah, that sucks. It's not fair, but it's also where your power is because once you know what's going on, you can start making different choices. Not all at once, but little shifts that start to change the story, like saying no without explaining yourself, or letting someone else be upset without rushing to fix it all, or catching yourself in the middle of an old habit and just saying, wait, this isn't who I want to be anymore. That's how it starts. It's not with some big dramatic transformation, but with an awareness and a few uncomfortable choices that slowly add up. But here's what I want to say next, just to keep it real. Healing is not linear, okay? It's not like you have this big breakthrough, cry it out, and boom, you're evolved. I wish it worked like that, but the truth is, this work happens in layers. You might finally understand where your patterns come from and still find yourself reacting the same way you always have. You might catch yourself mid-pattern and feel super frustrated, like, oh, I thought I was past all of this. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. Healing isn't like a before and after moment. It's a million tiny moments where you do something slightly different, where you pause, where you notice, where you soften instead of snap, or you walk away instead of chasing, or you let yourself cry when the old you would have stuffed it down. And honestly, It can feel so discouraging at times because the world doesn't always applaud for you when you're unlearning your survival skills. Nobody throws a party because you set a boundary or didn't explain yourself for once. But those are the wins. That's the work. That's the quiet proof that you're evolving. And even though it can feel super heavy at times, the good news is there are tiny things you can start doing right now to move forward. Okay, so now what? If you've been nodding along this whole time, if you're starting to recognize these patterns and it feels a little heavy or even overwhelming, you're not alone, but you're also not stuck. You don't need to have it all figured out to start healing. You just need to be willing to look at what's underneath the surface. And here's what that can look like. 1. Reflection. Ask yourself, what did love look like in my childhood? What emotions were welcome and which ones weren't? Who did I have to be to feel safe or accepted? These aren't easy questions, but the answers will start connecting the dots. Reparenting yourself. Ask, what did younger me think she didn't get? Then start giving that to yourself now, whether it's rest, validation, boundaries, or just permission to feel what you feel. 3, get curious when you're triggered. Next time something hits a nerve, pause and ask, what is this reminding me of? Is it actually about today, or is it touching something old? 4, choose different, even when it feels weird. Healthy might feel like boring if you're used to chaos, but peace isn't boring. It's just unfamiliar at times. Don't confuse calm with disconnection. Sometimes it's just safe. Okay, before we wrap this up, I just want to say this. You're not too much. You've just been carrying too much for too long. You weren't asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong people. You didn't get what you needed, so you learned to stop needing altogether. But that doesn't mean those needs went away. You just learned how to keep the peace, how to stay quiet, how to take care of everyone else while pushing your own feelings aside. And maybe that kept things calm on the outside, but inside, it's exhausting. You got so good at holding it all together that no one ever stopped to ask you, hey, are you okay? And honestly, you stopped asking yourself too. This is what survival mode looks like when it's been going on for years. You apologize for things that aren't even your fault. You feel guilty for resting. You shut down instead of speaking up because every time you tried to talk about how you feel, someone made you feel crazy for it. And now you're here doing the work, trying to untangle all of it, trying to figure out who you are underneath the caretaking of the people pleasing and the old patterns you never chose. So no, you're not broken. You just learned a version of love that was based on fear and silence. And now you're trying to build something healthier. And maybe for the first time, that takes courage. It takes honesty, and it takes unlearning a whole lot of stuff you never should have had to learn in the first place. This isn't about blaming your parents or whoever else. This is about finally being real with yourself, seeing the patterns and deciding it stops with you. You get to want more, you get to need more, and you get to have more. Okay, my fellow evolvers, that's a wrap for today. If this episode hit something in you, don't just sit with it. Send me a message. Tell me what stood out, what you felt, what you're walking through. You're not the only one untangling all of this, even if it felt that way for a really long time. You can email me at talk@evolvingwithtina.com. I truly love to hear from you guys. And if this episode made you think of someone else who's always been the strong one or who never got what she needed, send this to her. We're not doing surface level around here. We're healing, we're evolving, and we're doing it together. So until next time, my beautiful evolvers, keep evolving, keep glowing, and never stop showing up for yourself because you matter. Much love.